Did you listen to Jeff and Professor Hamo in the morning? Here's what you missed.
Breakfast showing all about Africa. Hashtag
Jeff and Hamo on hot.
I tell you, man, this. Anyway, it's okay. We move on.
Today we are focused.
Yes, this is the hour where we do our one-on-one, and joining us here in the studio live is Narok Senator, my good friend Ledama Lekina. Senator, good to see you as always.
Thank you, bro.
Karibu sana, karibu sana. You're looking trim and fit.
Yeah?
Bro, I'm gonna do it.
and thank you for the Christmas present.
Karibu. It's been sitting in my house for a long time. I got tired of looking at it. So I decided, even if this guy doesn't want to come and have a Christmas dinner in my house, I might as well take the gift to his show.
Ajipange kutokea hapa.
Yes. And you know, Jeff, I've just been looking at you and thinking, dude, you can never be a farmer. The only thing you can do is to be a broadcaster. Good luck.
Why is that?
Why?
You know, you better be drinking a lot of lemon. Because, you know, your voice is going to get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
Correct.
You know? But you do a good job.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Listen, last time I saw you was in the Congo. You guys were heading to the inauguration of Felix Tshisekedi. How was that?
First of all, I have to say that Kenyans have got to be proud of their government. They've got to be proud of the handshake, because the handshake delivered. This is the first presidency that the handshake delivered.
In Congo?
In Congo.
Because it was getting kind of nasty, right?
It was. And remember that Felix declared his presidential bid at the Serena Hotel in Nairobi.
Right here.
You know, I have to thank Ledama, His Excellency. And I also have to thank Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, His Excellency, because they came together. They saw an opportunity for Africa to grow using the Kenyan model. You know, Congo is a very rich country, but yet very, very poor. So they joined hands and they delivered a peaceful transition to power. And now, and you could see that translated into Felix making his first state visit as president to Kenya.
Yeah.
So we're very, very proud of ourselves, and we hope that we can be able to open the Lapset corridor over Lamu, straight, put up a railway line all the way to Congo.
Can you imagine?
And you can imagine all that. So even if people start talking about issues with, other neighboring countries like Uganda, let's say Uganda decide, we're not going to use Kenya because of maybe oil disputes and stuff like that. We're going to use Tanzania. Man, we have a huge market. A huge market in the Congo. Untapped. That soil is like a virgin, you know. It's like untapped.
Correct.
You know, you plant anything, boom.
It blows up.
That's why the Chinese are trying to get in there, but I hope that Kenyans will be able to become the Chinese of Africa and be able to penetrate deeper.
So do you think Congo has finally turned a corner? Kabila did his 18 years. He was kind of kicking and screaming while leaving, but at least there was no violence.
No, actually, I don't think so. I don't think he was kicking and screaming when he's leaving, because I was there when Tshisekedi was being sworn in. And I saw a very, very, very calm young man. Kabila is only 47 years old.
Correct.
He's a few years older than me, you know. And I think it's a good example, because he was in power for 18 years. Even though he got into power through sort of like the back door after his dad was killed by his bodyguard, the young man really tried. You know, he tried to, first of all, to bring in that country together. I hope that he would have done a better job with creating good relationship with Congo B, because you know it's only a river that separates the two countries. In fact, when you are at the Kempinski, where we were staying when we were in Congo, you can see Congo Brazzaville
right across the river.
Right across the river, you can take a boat ride and go to another more organized, developed country. So I think Congo is now at a stage where they have also looked at what is happening across other African countries, and they can learn a lot from Kenya. And we should be proud of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Kenya is a great country with all the challenges that we have. I think we can be able to help African countries be able to become sober and learn to embrace the handshake, because what happened in Congo is truly a good example of a workable handshake.
What are your thoughts about Nigeria? Literally hours to the vote, like 3-4 hours. They postpone a presidential election.
Well, they postponed it because somebody had the results before the election. I mean, it's that simple.
Nigeria.
And I do hope, Jeff, that at some point we will get out of this. You know, the moment people realize that the good of the entire country is better than special interest, is when African countries will be able to leapfrog. We are grappling with the challenges of moving from an agrarian revolution all the way to a service-based industry. And we have an opportunity to literally leapfrog. If you look at our GDP, right now our GDP is only based on what we are able to produce, you know, as a country. You know, our manufacturing sector is still, you know, below par. And in fact, yesterday when I was at the Citizen TV, people were calling in and saying, even the manufacturing sector that the president is saying, let's develop, the only people who are getting an opportunity to invest in it is foreigners who are coming in. And then the sad part is that even when we have industries going in, we are still so corrupt in a way that we are allowing illegal importations of good. Like, look at the sugar industry. I mean, it's a huge, we've got a manufacturing sector, we've got blend in with the agricultural sector, where sugarcane farmers are growing a lot of sugarcane. But the price of sugarcane is going down because there's still a huge of illegal sugar, which is not even fit for consumption. So I think when you look at the Nigeria model and you look at certain things that we are grappling with here locally, you can say we are much better than Nigeria, you know, but I hope that the oil casts will not come back and destroy us. You know, so Nigeria, the situation in Nigeria is completely different from Congo. But I hope that they can learn from Kenya.
And the saddest part about Nigeria is, whichever way they vote, there's going to be a period of suspension.
Yes.
You know, this one will be disputing, this one will be disputing, and you know, Nigeria can't afford to slow down, man. I mean,
an election is not an election in Africa. It's not dispute.
Correct.
So you know, we all have to dispute. We all have to go. You see what has happened in the Supreme Court, you know, and then now interest gets in, you know. I mean, seriously, we are not stupid. We read the Constitution. You can be able to interpret the law. Then you ask yourself, okay, the Constitution says you must have a degree to run for governor.
Right.
But then when you read the decision, and then the High Court says, you know, that's what the Constitution said, it must be constitutional. The Court of Appeals say it must be constitutional. But then now when you go to the Apex Court, the Supreme Court, they say, dude, if the guy looks
like he has
a degree, if he talks like he has a degree, then that is a degree. Come on.
If you carry yourself
as a degree holder, oh, dude, you know, if you carry yourself as a doctor, is the same problem we are having in Nigeria.
Yes.
So all this conflict, you know, you know, you've lived in Nigeria.
I did, yes. You know, and the potential, bro, the potential. 200 million people.
I think we are cursed.
Honestly, no, honestly.
Yes.
The rain started beating a long time ago. You know, what a shame.
The same thing is happening even in Congo.
And it's
but Congo, I'm very optimistic about Congo.
You are.
I think Kenya, you know, and that's why I began by thanking the two individuals. I think whatever they've been grappling with, you know, for them to get into this handshake has really instilled some sense of sobriety in their minds.
Good.
And I hope that they can be able to take that now and then transfer it to the guys in Congo. You know, Felix is a guy who looks like he can be molded, he can be supported. Although the situation there is very interesting, because Felix Tshisekedi's party only has a minority of members of parliament. They only have about 43. Kabila's party has about, I think, 280.
Good Lord.
You know? And then the constitution there is very clear. Kabila, the moment he stopped being president, he becomes a life member of the Senate. You know? So Kabila is still going to be there. That's why Kabila said, where am I going? I'm not going anywhere.
His presence will still be strong.
His presence will still be strong. You know, he has a high capability of, I think, and I have to remember who became the prime minister, but the prime minister would come from his party. So really, and that's why I'm saying this issue of the constitutional referendum in this country is very, very important, because even though we have a young democracy, which is sober, that we are grappling with certain challenges, there's still a lot that we can learn from our neighboring countries. You know, like, you know, assuming our constitution gives an opportunity for whoever becomes second, you know, to serve in parliament, or the opposition become the prime minister or something like that.
Checks and balances.
There could be some check and balances.
Senator, speaking of neighbors, looks like there's a tiff, a dispute with our northeastern neighbor, Somalia, where allegedly some oil blocks were auctioned off in Europe by the Somalis, and the Kenyans claim that is their territory. This case, by the way, has been in the ICJ, International Criminal Court of Justice, in The Hague for the last 4 or 5 years, since 2014. So the question is, did someone jump the gun?
The way I look at it, and I've done quite a lot of research on this subject, I think there's a misconception. The relationship between the Kenyan government and the Somali government has been fantastic. For a long time, we have helped Somali really get to where it is right now. We have the biggest or the largest refugee camp in Africa, Ledama, which hosts a lot of Somalis. Jeff, I have some Somali blood, and I would want to see this relationship between Kenya and Somali really staying as a good relationship. But I don't want to remember incidences of massacres, like the Garissa massacre and stuff like that. The way I interpret the whole situation is this, and I think it's important for us to put this into context. 2014, this year is a very, very crucial. 2014, Somalia took Kenya to the ICJ. 2015, Kenya, wrote to ICJ and said, dude, you do not have any jurisdictions to hear this matter. 2016, ICJ found that yes, they did have the right to listen to this matter and resolve the dispute. 2017, then Gideon Muigai, and that is the time when this issue now became public. Gideon Muigai replied, decided to also file a memorandum to challenge that matter in the ICJ. So this issue is still in the ICJ being determined, because this is such a large area, over 100,000 square kilometers. It's not a small area, and it could be a place which has a lot of has a lot of oil
and gas.
So in my view, what happened, and that's why I'm saying this is a misconception. The Ministry of Somalia had a presentation in London. We find a situation whereby we can be able to go out there and try to sell, opportunities which are available in Africa. We can be able to do that, because I think the Ministry of Petroleum in Somalia thought that the country is now becoming a little bit sober. So let us go out there and showcase to the world what we have. The biggest mistake they did is that the part of what is disputed was in the presentation. So I do not believe that it was in the intention of the Somali government to go in and deceive or to auction. They went in and said, okay, this is what we have. We are willing their potential. I mean, we're looking for money to be able to develop their country. But the paradox here is that our presence in Somalia has been very loud, to a point where we were even warned by other African countries. We have the KDF there present, the Amazons, we're the head of the Amazons and stuff like that. And then this is a country where there is a lot of conflict internally. So as any given situation, when you feel like your sovereignty is at risk, whether you're fighting, and I'm talking about the warlords here, I'm talking about the Al-Shabaabs and all that stuff, somebody could have crafted this idea and said, this is an opportunity to bring the people together, rally the people together, even recruit more militias, and say, Kenya is after our resources. Okay? So, but then, it is something that we have to treat very carefully. And I'm not quite happy with the quick steps that the foreign ministry in this country took in terms of
recalling the ambassador.
Although they're arguing that it's not recalling, it's just calling him for consultations. But it's cautionary. You cannot bring that out in the public, because then Kenyans will also be arguing and saying, hey, we have, our people have died in Somalia. We've been hit because of, by Somalis.
Our presence there,
our presence there. The Al-Shabaab have been hitting us hard. So, in my view, what we ought to do is this. We have to wait for the matter to be fully determined at the ICJ. I think what we should be doing is trying to sort of speed up the process so that we know clearly how it is, you know, and I have no doubt that territory is a Kenyan territory. So we shouldn't be worried about that.
Right.
Because then, if it's not supposed to be going through the latitude, then it means that all other countries
will have to reconfigure
to configure their boundaries.
Correct.
And this is all this nonsense brought to us by the 1884 Berlin Conference. So we've got to take back all those issues. So for over 100 years, we've known this is our boundary. So we are all sticking very hard and saying this is our boundary, but you know, this emotive, you know, I really would want us to be very careful because look at the interest in this country. You know, the cultural connection between the Somali in Kenya and the Somali in Somalia. You know, look at the elections which are just about to happen in Somaliland. So someone somewhere could have seized an opportunity to bring in conflict between Kenya and Somali so that then now in Somali, whether or not somebody is an Al-Shabaab or a warlord, if you feel like your territory is under threat, even if assuming, hypothetically, if, you know, you are a warlord and I'm a whatever, and I'm in the government, this can bring us together. Say, dude,
against that common enemy.
Against that common enemy.
Absolutely.
Say, look, we can't let our resources go.
That's very sad, by the way. By the way, Senator, I didn't know the area was so large. 100,000.
It's over 100,000 square kilometers.
My Lord, that triangle that they talk about.
Yes. Because I mean, think about it this way: it's in the ocean.
It's in international waters or whatever it is.
Yes. Good. So it's like, how far do we go?
You keep going. But tell me something. There's also a lot of other interests who want that oil and that gas as well. And I'm talking about the Chinese and of course and the Americans. Americans announced a few months ago that they're going to give $900 million
for exploration.
No, to rehabilitate Somalia.
You know,
900 million.
And are we looking for it to auction it? How much to exploit for ourselves?
You see, and I'm glad we're talking about these issues because this is so timely. You have no idea how timely this topic is. Today in the Senate, we're going to be voting for the Petroleum bill. And this special interest that you're talking about are either going to destroy this country completely by making sure that only a few benefit, or they will get some sense of sort of like wisdom and agree to pass the amendments that we brought in. Because when you come up with a law that deals with the issues of those, what do you call it, the minerals, the resources,
natural resources,
you've got to figure out a few very critical elements. You've got to ask yourself, what is this interest by the Americans?
All of a sudden,
what is this interest by the Chinese? The law that I'm going to be able to pass, and I hope that the president is listening to this, and I hope that he can be able to say, gentlemen, you come, let's have a talk, and listen, and let's create the law. Let's not just rush legislation through. Let's create a law that will ensure anyone who crosses our boundary and come in and start their exploration in our territory, that matter can be decided here in Kenya. You know, remember the situation of the SGR contract, where now any dispute, Kenya is subjected to the Chinese government laws. We have to be very, very careful. We have to care.
Because we become slaves.
We do have to put our foot in the ground. Because if the Chinese comes in, you know, and they say, okay, they put in a lot of money. If the Americans come in and put in a lot of money in the neighboring countries, if Kenya will start saying, oh, this is our land, this is our issues, you know, that matter cannot, under the Kenyan law right now, that issue is silent. So whenever we bring in amendments to legislations, you know, like we have the energy bill right now in the Senate, which we sat down and we met with 18 stakeholders. When we met the 18 stakeholders, we listened to their views. These are experts in the field. They said, gentlemen, all these, the way the law is here, you have to amend it. You know, and these are some of the amendments that we proposed. We drafted them, we looked at them, and we agreed. But then, the last minute, both the petroleum and the energy bill, in the last minute, someone came and said, no, I have instructions from above that not even a comma that the president has instructed that not even a comma, the bill should pass the way it is from the National Assembly.
What?
And I said, no way, Jose. So, drafted the amendments. We were to vote for the amendments in Elgeyo Marakwet when we went, it was in Gishu County when we went for the Senate Machinani. It brought in a lot of issues. We came back into the House. No one brought in the amendments, so I forwarded the amendments. So last week we were supposed to vote for the amendments, but you could hear that a certain movement in the Senate want to pass the law the way it is. We've got to develop legislation for posterity. We cannot develop legislation for special interest. This interest is what will destroy us. So the issue of the petroleum sector, the issue of the energy sector, we cannot be dictated by interest from outside.
Because they're going to take over, huh? Or they are.
You know, now, when we're in such a volatile situation...
Left Somalia in 1993 after the Black Hawk Down
in a very bad state.
In a very bad state. You know, the Congress voted never to go back, all that stuff. All of a sudden...
It's all about the Benjamins.
It's all about the Benjamins. Because they must have, you know, they have satellite imagery, they have all this sophisticated equipment, and they can see what's down there. They can see.
Let me tell you, the technology has advanced so much to a point where right now, literally in Kenya, we've got oil blocks, we've got energy blocks, to a point where there's really no reason for exploration.
We know where they are.
Dude, you can go to Narok County right now. You don't need to have money for exploration. You can just look around the technology and say dig here, boom, and you get power.
What?
Yes. Listen, dude, in my home, where I live, which is about maybe 60 kilometers from Suswa, I have a borehole which is 300 meters. The water comes in hot. Okay? If I went down 3,000 meters down, I have geothermal.
Geothermal.
Okay? I don't need to spend money in exploration. Now the Americans, with all their technology, those dudes, man.
Imagine what they're seeing.
And they're like,
imagine what they are seeing.
But what are they investing?
Oil,
gas.
You know, gas. They say we're going to spend. You know, I mean, you know, these are some of the things that really annoy me, because we're so quick to get a little back. You know, we forget the big bag. If you look at the law the way it is drafted, you're told, okay, you will pay $1 million, which will be like your entry fee. You know, what is $1 million? It's not pocket change.
Pocket change.
When you look at the law, for instance, it says it doesn't factor in issues of restoring the environment. Assuming you bring in some just some Tom, Dick, and Harry, who are also keen in doing the exploration. Instead of using the right technology, they start digging holes everywhere. You know, how do you take care of the abandoned well? And
you know, it's the same thing that happened in Nigeria with the oil multinationals. They destroyed the infrastructure, destroyed the land.
No, it is sad.
We are speaking live to Narok Senator Ledama Lekina. George Jalango says, bold, innovative, intelligent, and full of positivity.
Thank you.
I'm getting inspired this morning and gaining confidence in all my aspirations. Bravo, Senator, bravo.
Thank you.
Kaiser Obed said, this man always makes sense. I hope he becomes the next Narok governor.
We need him nationally.
Yes. Moses Kibneti says, Salamia Mwashimiwa. And Asoba. He is one of the leaders that I admire his leadership the most. Kenya needs people like you, Lekina.
Thank you very much.
How about governorship 2022?
Let's talk about where I am right now.
What can we do now?
Well, there was a picture, Hamo. There's a picture I saw on IG. Senator was there with boss. He was in Kinshasa actually at the inauguration. He had his rungu.
Yes.
And then the caption. Caption. 2032.
Absolutely.
God willing. You do. And why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Listen to him.
Jeff, did you see a picture of the 4 presidents that we've had in this country together?
Yes.
You see a picture of Mzee Njomo.
Correct.
You saw a picture of
Arab Moi. Yes.
Kibaki.
Yes.
And Uhuru.
And young Uhuru. Yes.
You know, God has plans for everything.
Yes.
So I always say, from your brief moment, from your brief moment from your mama's womb to your tomb, what can you do to make
In between.
That's the key, most important. Nothing else.
By the way, did you get a chance to speak to the president on your trip? Did you?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because when we that day, he looked overwhelmed. To tell you the truth.
Really?
Yeah. He said very little, and I can tell you he looked overwhelmed. And I think he was tired because he flew. Raila, myself, Junet, and Gladys Wanga. We left Wilson Airport to Kinshasa, just the four of us in our jet. But the president left Mombasa, which is a much longer distance.
Yes,
Mombasa, all the way to Kinshasa with a couple of other people.
Right.
So he looked tired, but he's still very inspiring. Even the Bible says when you get closer to them, even touching them, even the smell, it's something which is very, very
Fresh,
absolutely.
Yes.
Congo Kiani says, great discussion. We should have a Ledama Tuesday.
Yes, yes.
Do we hear a Ledama Tuesday? We're going to take a quick break, come back, read some more tweets, and also talk about other issues.
Yes.
Nurses strike, Senator. Nurses strike.
Talk about that.
By the way, the president gave an ultimatum. He says, you go back to work Friday or you're fired.
Did you see my tweet?
I saw your tweet.
That's the worst mistake the president could have made.
Let's take a break, come back, plenty more with the Senator. 2032 is knocking.
If you look at the nitty-gritty, the details, you will find that some of these nurses are asking for 20,000 shillings. How much money is wasted by governors stealing the money? Health is devolved. This is a problem of each and every county. I think the best thing that the president should have done is called a meeting with the governors. Sat down with the governors, all governors, and say, dude, how is the situation in your county? Let's look at this. How is your budget? But I don't think the president could have done that because, remember, we have this medical equipment services scheme, which is something which is, there's a cloud over it. It's about 9 billion, which we don't know where that money is coming from.
And nobody's talking about it.
No, we started talking about it in the Senate. We called the minister to come in. We wanted to look at the contract. Where they were forcing county governments to have. So this whole issue of healthcare, I think it's something which is very, very important. And I told the president that our health as a nation is very, very important. We cannot use threats. Remember, your welfare is the key most important thing.
Correct.
Everyone's welfare. Even you, Jeff, working here at Citizen or at Hot 96 in Citizen. The first thing that you need to take care of is your health.
Otherwise, if I'm sick, I can't work.
You can't. So even your well-being, in welfare, I mean, your how much are you paid? Can you afford to take your kids to school? Can you afford to be able to work? And truth be told, nurses are the most overworked people in this world. I mean, and nurses are the most sought of people. Look at all the Kenyans who live in America, who live in the US,
and
who
doing
live in Australia,
and doing
very well.
Yes.
Nurses. A nurse in America. I have a friend of mine who is a nurse, and he lives in Texas. And that dude is one of the richest guys I've ever met.
And he's a nurse.
And he's a nurse. The dude is paid about $150 an hour.
Good Lord.
He could even, he's a registered nurse.
Prof, that's 15. That's 15K.
15K
In an hour.
So the dude works like 10 hours a day.
150K.
150K. Take out 30% for the taxes. The guy is still rich.
Good Lord.
And then he goes on, and then he set up his nursing agency. So in this country, I think if we really invest in it, because look at it this way, we've got a lot of money coming in from people going into hospitals. County government make money from people paying petty little money. And it's a lot of money. Let us look at, and this is why I keep on saying, every entity in this country, every parastatal in this country, every government entity must be run like a business. I am very, very proud of Wangusi, the director of CAK. In Kenya, if there is any entity which is run properly, it is CAK. The amount of money they have, the amount of, sobriety, intelligence. When you walk into the facility, you are like, dude, is this a government entity? But on the other hand, look at, Portland Cement. Look at Kenya Meat Commission. Kenya Meat Commission, for instance, in Lukufa.
Kitambo.
Dude,
we are paying debts that's 1940.
give me a break. Money, it's a business. You look at your income statement. Income versus expenses.
That's it.
You know?
But people think
What
it's
is
their
the income?
business.
What are your assets? You know, how you dispose of the assets, where does that money go? You know, it's common sense. You know, it's, you know, in high school, we did accounting, what was it? It was called what? Commerce.
Commerce, yes.
It's called
I loved
commerce.
it. I
You
loved
know,
it.
in the UAE,
Yes.
in college, we did accounting 101, whatever.
correct.
You look at the basics of accounting. You know, you look at your statement. And that's how the government is run. That's even how the government should actually trickle down to running. I love what Kibaki did for this country. Said less, but he was very powerful.
And effective.
Very effective.
And effective.
Very effective.
And look at him now. I'm sure he's smiling where he is.
You know, and the worst thing, and in fact, the other day I called Judy and I said, I want to come and see him there. The worst thing is that, you know, people, you know, don't go and see him, you know.
They've ignored him
you know,
almost.
they've ignored him. I mean, it's wrong.
Goodness.
You know, this guy really lifted this economy.
And he turned it around.
He turned it around. Most of these projects we're seeing, which are now being accomplished, these are projects which were started by Raila and Kibaki.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And you know, look at all these other parastatals which are now this government is thinking of folding, and they've been doing so well.
Yeah.
They were started by Kibaki and Raila.
Exactly. Listen to Tony Ruida. He says, Senator, don't forget the nurse who was attacked at Mama Lucy Hospital the other day.
Exactly. You know, it is ridiculous. You know, the way we treat the people. You know, there's always a saying that don't cut the hands that feed you.
There you go.
You know?
Yeah, or don't cut your nose to spite your face.
Exactly, you can't. You know, we really have got to look at it. And I think what the solution ought to be is that if there's any governor out there listening, if there's any governor out there listening, sit down, go and meet with these union officials. Look at that CBA, you know, that agreement. What is it that you agreed on? See how you can be able to mediate the process. You know, have the people go back. Run the county as if it is your business. It is your family, your children. You don't want your children to suffer because there's no food in the house. So you've got to, you know, treat other people the way you want to be treated. Put yourself in their shoes.
Exactly.
You know, I think the president was wrong, but to make a mistake is not a mistake, Jeff. He still has an opportunity to be able to come and say, gentlemen, let's sit on the table. I also want to speak to the nurses, to the union. Guys, where there's issues, you know, if you put your stand and you also are very hard, and the president is hard, the people who suffer are Kenyans.
Exactly.
You know, I was listening to certain statements which were being made by the nurses officials saying, we are the hospital. We say we're going to strike, we're not going to go. Are the hospitals shut now? Come on. You know, let wisdom prevail. You too, think about it. Think about it this way. How can you also use your wisdom? Come in on the table. Because I'm not saying that the president is the only one who is wrong here. Even the guys were wrong. You know, we cannot have such a hard stand. Embrace the handshake moment.
Yeah.
This is a time that you need to sit down, agree to disagree, and find a way that it will continue helping the Kenyans.
Meanwhile, that 9 billion, like 9 billion.
You know, the sad part is that this mess, it's called MESS,
Yeah.
Medical Equipment System.
And it's a mess.
And it's a mess. And I sit in the Public Account and Investment Committee in the Senate. And when we brought in governors to ask them, tell us about the mess, they'll tell you, I have no clue. You know, I remember asking Oparanya to explain to me about the mess. He said, listen, I was shocked. I was in Kakamega. The president came to Kakamega.
Yes.
And then when I'm busy showing the president what I've done in building a big hospital, the stadium, the DP had already sent some equipment, you know, some theater equipment, you know, which were forwarded to my county, and I didn't even know. Some old theater was cleaned up, and the equipment were put in there. You know, so now, and I asked him, and you didn't know about that? He said, I didn't know about it. So there's a conflict between the national government and the county government. And I want to advise the national government, Mr. President, whatever is devolved, let it be devolved. Support the devolution. And Kenyans out there ought to know that the Senate, especially this Senate that I sit on, is the only one which is helping save devolution. Whatever is devolved, promote devolution, support. To be honest with you, there is absolutely no reason as to why most of the money is now held at the policy level, Afia House. You know,
Yeah.
most of the money wants to go into the devolved government structures, systems. We need to be able to have hospitals. You know, Jeff, I am one of those people. Yesterday I was having a conversation with a gentleman called Paul Archer. And he said something to me that made a lot of sense. He said in Kenya, we are divided by centuries. They're part of Kenya, which is in the 21st century. And they're part of Kenya, which is still in the
19th century.
19th century.
Yes. Not even 20th.
No,
19th.
19th century.
Yes.
So what we need to do is that we cannot develop policies about Nairobi, similar policies with West Pokot.
Oh, yes.
We can't.
Correct.
Those people will never compete.
No.
You know, so what we need to do is to figure out what do we do to develop policies that support West Pokot, that support Narok, that support Nairobi. Different. Then it will even help greatly on this rural-urban migration. People will stick to their areas,
Yes.
develop their areas, run their areas. We want to see dispensaries all over. We want to be able to tap into volunteers. You know, there is a Medical Sans Frontiers who travel all around the world. If we can put some dispensaries in our rural areas, bring in medicine and take care of that area, and apply a capitation system that works. A capitation system is where, you know, Narok, I actually am very happy with Narok. One of the things that I thank the government of Narok for having done is really investing in the ambulance services. At first I was a critic, but now that ambulance services is helping. And it's one fee, you pay one fee for the entire population. So whether somebody gets sick or not, that fee is there, it's available. You know, that's a capitation system. So people come, you know, you fall sick, an ambulance will come even to the most remote area and bring you all the way to Nairobi Hospital.
Wow.
You know? You know, so what we need to do now is to use the same system, whereby the six of us here contribute to a kitty of healthcare.
Yeah.
Makueni Governor Kibutha Kibwana is doing a fantastic job in universal healthcare, where you pay 500 shillings.
Yeah.
If everybody is paying that amount, Jeff, there's no single moment where the six of us will fall sick.
No, there isn't.
You know?
Yeah.
God might bless you. You might stay for 2 years without getting sick. But every month,
Yes.
you're paying the 500 bob. Paying the 500 bob.
kitty is
That
building.
500
Yes.
bob is helping our dear brother here. If he falls sick, whatever, God forbid, whatever disease he gets, the money that we are all contributing is helping that person.
And it's affordable.
And it's affordable.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
So we've got to think about being our brother's keeper. We've got to think about this world, you know, and ensuring that as we, you know, progress in preparation to bequeath this world to our younger generation, we should do so knowing that we've left them with good resources, we have supported their, you know, their well-being, their welfare, and of course, then you will live a good life.
I'm talking about being a brother's keeper. Leo ulisikia 300 useless courses. Suddenly, after we spent a whole year, 2 years, you graduated.
Can I tell you something? I'm from a different school of thought. I don't believe that there are 300 useless courses. Because anything you read empowers you.
Yeah.
Jeff, I read quite a lot. I read books on the economy. I'm reading a fantastic book right now on the great economist. Yeah, looking at Karl Marx, looking at Ricardo, looking at who else? Different theories, you know, and they help me a lot. I read about you know, people in Russia. Someone might say that is useless. That book is useless, but I can pick something or two. I think what we need to do, and I think this now moves us into the next discussion where we're talking about the Big Four agenda. The Swahili always say, I do not subscribe to the same school of thought as Moses Kuria does, but sometimes there are certain things that he says that make sense. I remember reading a tweet that Moses Kuria had said, this all Big Four agenda is a fallacy. It will never happen. Because the Jubilee administration is planning to build over 500 houses. We've not built one. And what is remaining of the Jubilee administration? 2 years?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
You know, if we were to start building those houses, we'll be building a house per second for us to fulfill that. So then now it begs the question, what is the most important thing that we can do right now to prepare for that Big Four agenda? And this is why, Jeff, I once told the president that, my brother, you will fail in your Big Four agenda. You will not achieve anything. Yeah. Because your government is more of talk than action. You know, and someone might say, this dude is crazy, he's losing his mind. But the truth is, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
There you go. That's what Johnny Cochran said at the O.J. Simpson trial about the gloves. If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. Senator Ledama Lekina there. Watch this space, people. Watch this space. From 2022 to 2032. This man's going to be around. Thanks so much, my brother. Appreciate it. And keep doing what you do, man.
Jeff, there's one thing that you just have to allow me to talk about.
Go on.
We have got to understand what is the work of the OCPD and what is the work of the DCI. We've got the criminal justice system in Kenya is clearly defined on paper, but in practice, it is not defined. We had a very unfortunate situation in Narok where a couple, tourists, who were arrested and were detained at the police custody. And the police, or rather in this case, you know, the police service is sort of like broader because it's made up of the criminal investigation department and it's also made of the police, the people who go out there and, you know, maintain law and order. Yes. But it beats justice when the people who are supposed to be maintaining the law and order give themselves the responsibility of investigating a crime. Your job, if you hear that there is a problem here, you wake up, you go get the DCI, they go and investigate the matter, and then the DCI, upon the investigation and conclusion, they now hand over the investigative file to the DPP for prosecution. This young couple who are assaulted in Narok, there's a young girl.
Foreigners.
You know, foreigners. And Narok County depend on tourists. You know, I want to apologize to them. And I want to tell them that what this one person did is not what Narok is all about. You know? Yeah. And I'm quite happy that the DCI has moved in. And now I'm looking forward to justice. Because the OCPD is not supposed to come up with a file and tell you, Jeff, you can write a complaint, or you can write a complaint. In this incident, there's a fellow called Munir. If you remember that fellow, is a guy who was caught with over 100,000 round of ammunition.
During 2007, 2008.
2007. Yeah. I mean, this guy is like a warlord. This guy is like untouchable. We don't need those people in this country. What we want is that we want people who can be able to help. We don't want people who can make us believe that they have lined their path, you know?
And they're untouchable.
You know? And they're untouchable. You know, this is what...
sick, that's senseless.
Man, I hope you have a delay because I was just about to say
Are these guys going to be okay, the tourists?
Well, they will be okay. That one is one thing that I can affirm. That they're going to be okay. Because first of all, the entire investigation was watched. You know, the OCPD does not do the investigation. In fact, what they should have done, because according to this young girl, she said she walked into an ATM and this guy followed her and said, "Move your F car, UBITCH."
Wow.
You know?
This was
like, yeah. And then the girl is like, "Excuse me?" So when she turned like this, the guy held her and then threw her into the into the ATM. The girl when they walked into, she ran back to where her boyfriend is and said, "That man accosted me. You know, he assaulted me." So when the guy went to ask the guy, "Why are you assaulting my wife?" The guy turned around on him and looked at him, said "F you," and then hit him on the nose. I would fight back.
Anyone would.
Yes. You know, I would fight back, but this time, this dude got a beating. A little boy, just a young little boy, beat up this old man because of, you know. So, in a nutshell, what I'm saying, what the police should have done is that visited the crime scene, gone to Cooperative Bank, asked for the CCTV footage, allowed the girl to make her statement, file a complaint. But if you now say, no, you're not going to be allowed to file a statement, it is only Jeff or Munir who will be allowed to file, it is not fair. Exactly. And then immediately give the matter to DCI, you know, CCI. the county criminal investigation, because they have the capability. Let them go, even take the DNA, you know, feel, you know, the girl said, I've been, you know, I was pushed. Take her clothes, because when I touch you like this, I leave my DNA. You know what I mean? And then look at the footage, the CCTV footage, then come up with a case that you now forward to the DPP. But without that, there's no case there.
There's no case.
You know? So it is wrong.
Great. Senator Ledama Lekina, thanks so much for your time, man. Appreciate it, and good luck and all the best.
Thank you very much.
This is what we call...
Catch Jeff Koinange and Professor Hamo every day, Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on Hot 96.